The basics of service are so often defined solely around pleasing our guests and customers. It is only natural to define the value of the work we do primarily through the interactions we have with guests. They are the ones with the final say on how well we provided our service, and have the power to go on and spread the word regarding our success and failures. But that's no reason to consider guest interactions as the only ones we need to be mindful of while at work. Tensions between coworkers or employees and their managers can create a hostile work environment that stifles one's ability to focus our attentions on our patrons. Far too often do we find that we fail to address problems in the workplace, and overall performance falls as a result. Take, for example, our friend Elizabeth here. She's a bright young woman starting out her career in service. She doesn't have much experience yet, but is excited to learn at her new place of employment, the Pemberley Resort and Spa. As part of her initial training, Elizabeth was paired up with another employee in order to learn the ropes around her workstation, and to better get a feel for the corporate culture, William. But boy did Elizabeth get a bad feeling from the moment that she met William. He was on the management track, taking jobs all over the hotel, and wouldn't you know it, his sister just happened to be the general manager of one of the brand's other locations. Just one look over him and she already knew. William didn't like her one bit. He even said to her face that this position was one of the easiest jobs he's had thus far. He's insulting the very job he's training me for. How stuck up. He probably doesn't respect me. Elizabeth knew she had to be wary of any cheap tricks William might try and pull. About 3 days into her time at Pemberley Hotel, and boy has Elizabeth done it already. She arrived to work at her scheduled time, but where is everyone? Not over here, not over there. She decides to head towards her manager's office to see what was going on, and while passing one of the conference rooms, now would you look at this? Everyone in her department is in a meeting. How does she not know about this? Well, there's nothing to be helped about it now. Elizabeth had better muster the courage to go on in and explain herself. Oh no, her manager is disappointed, both at her tardiness and at her rudeness for interrupting the meeting by coming in late. What took her so long? She didn't know about the meeting? Oh, this is so embarrassing. They turn to William of all people and ask if he sent out the reminder email. He claims he sent the message out to everyone in the department. What a jerk. William probably excluded her from the email list to make her look bad. Elizabeth was no fool. She made sure to check in with IT so she would get a work address. There's no way it was her fault that she didn't know. William's probably just trying to make himself look better in comparison. And look at this. About a week after her lateness, Elizabeth thinks she's made a recovery with her manager. Things are starting to look up, and she's getting to meet all kinds of people working the front desk. The last few days, she'd been the epitome of a model employee. While getting ready to clock out one night, an unusually crass customer comes to the front desk, complaining that she was not booked for her usual room, and demanded to have her things moved. Elizabeth had never seen this woman before, and was very tired from the workday, but she said she would do what she could. While looking up the woman's preferred room, she saw it was already occupied. Trying to explain the situation, the woman began yelling and causing a huge fuss. "Do you know who I am? I give more to this hotel than you make in a decade, and this is the treatment I can expect?" And who else had to witness this tantrum but William? He swooped in and coddled the woman, offering an upgrade at the spa free of charge for the inconvenience our new employee had caused her. The woman seemed to calm down after that, but Elizabeth was furious. Not only did William think that it was acceptable to excuse the woman for her poor treatment, but she was actively rewarded for it. And he had the audacity to throw her under the bus for not acting quickly enough, when she didn't even have the authority to make on-the-fly discounts like that. At the very least, he could have warned her about the high rollers staying here. Oh, that William just made Elizabeth's blood boil with rage. Today is a new day for Elizabeth, and a good one at that. Her mentorship with William was finally over, and she wouldn't be forced to match shifts with him any longer. Freedom at last. But early into her shift, her manager asks her to fill out a survey regarding her training and mentoring experience. A mentor-mentee survey? Oh, this was just perfect. Elizabeth knew for a fact that William would use this as another chance to gain advantage and one-up her. In her place, he wouldn't think twice about giving her the worst review just to improve his own standing. And then he'd just move on to the next job until he got to a management position. The thought of William having any formal authority over her was infuriating. So much so that Elizabeth was determined to give him the worst review ever. He wouldn't get away with making her look bad for so long. It's been a few weeks now, and it looks like Elizabeth's hunch was right. The results of her survey would determine whether William would be considered for a soon-to-open management position, and because of her unfavorable responses, it looks like that promotion would be far off for him now. But, as happy as she was that William finally got what was coming to him, she had to admit his sullen mood brought a tenseness to the workplace. And now, with his rejected promotion, she was stuck with him. She couldn't stand it. Every time they were scheduled together, it felt like he was silently judging her. She knew he blamed her for his current position now, and hated it. What right did he have to judge her any more than he already has? He already had favor with the other managers, too. She would bet money that they didn't like her anymore either. These thoughts continued until Elizabeth couldn't take it anymore. Only half a year into her position as a front desk associate, and she was already tendering her 2 weeks' notice. She left to go work at another hotel, and in the end, no one was happy. Especially not the hotel, who spent all that time and effort training Elizabeth, only for her to go work for a distant competitor. This situation has no winner. In leadership and professional development, the ladder of inference is often described as a tool used to further reasoning and understanding while cooperating in project groups. It is a framework for understanding human reasoning, identifying opportunities, and keeping group reasoning on track, especially useful when dealing with projects involving ambiguity or complexity. The ladder of inference describes the thinking process that we go through, usually without realizing it, to get from a fact to a decision or action. We start at the bottom with facts and figures and work our way up to the top, where we have our own beliefs. Each rung on these ladders lays out a mental step in our reasoning, from receiving data to drawing our final conclusion. In a vacuum, our self-reasoning processes may feel logical. We analyze information on past experiences, and everyone's experience is different. But our beliefs and actions may be founded on faulty selection or interpretation of available data. The ladder is a tool meant to expose the chains of reasoning. The ladder of inference is similar when used in a service context, but there are a few key differences. Here, the service ladders are symbols for our relationships with other people, guests, managers, or another coworker. Rungs on the ladder are representative of inferences and conclusions you make about others and the actions they've taken. These generally stem from inappropriate or negative interactions with others. As each negative interaction occurs, you may find yourself going up this metaphorical ladder. The top of a service ladder of inference represents a critical and dangerous point, and may leave you feeling helpless. It's when a situation has been escalated to the point where communication is extremely difficult, and internal peace is almost impossible to maintain. The ladder is a tool meant to show how situations escalate, while offering opportunities to de-escalate and resolve situations as well. There are 3 techniques we can use to de-escalate situations from our service ladders of inference, allowing us to make grounded decisions: advocacy, inquiry, and reflection. Advocacy involves making others aware of your reasoning and how you came to a specific conclusion. It involves you explaining your interpretations of an interaction and how you drew your conclusion. This de-escalates situations by allowing others to see from your perspective what happened and why you are acting a particular way. Inquiry involves asking after and understanding the reasoning of others and how they came to their specific conclusions. It's essentially giving the other party a chance to advocate for themselves and explain their own perspective. It can de-escalate a situation by providing clarity, oftentimes showing that other people were not acting in a way meant to provoke or cause you harm personally. Reflection involves one analyzing the way you personally draw conclusions and being aware of thought patterns you may have internalized. It's a chance to use the original ladder of inference and understand the mental steps you take in order to draw conclusions, a process which is often unconscious. Advocacy and inquiry together are both parts of open communication, which is essential to resolving conflicts. When one does not voice frustrations or their reasonings, this can lead to silent frustrations and escalation on the service ladder of inference. Imagine how Elizabeth and William's working relationship may have been improved with a more open line of communication. Instead of assuming William left her out of the email regarding an early work meeting, she may have inquired as to what happened to her email, if William really did send it out to everyone. Upon closer inspection and following up with the IT department, both would have realized that IT was still having trouble getting Elizabeth's new email integrated to all the specific groups she'd be associated with while in the hotel. It wasn't anyone's fault that Elizabeth was late, and William most certainly wasn't out to get her. Or perhaps Elizabeth might have spoken up for herself when William blamed the irate guest's problems on her. If she had explained her reasoning, that she didn't have any authority to swap rooms or give out conciliatory discounts, perhaps William may have apologized for his behavior and made sure she knew about ways she could help guests with not-so-common problems. And if Elizabeth had de-escalated these situations and came down from her personal ladder, perhaps she'd be more mindful when reflecting upon William's performance as a mentor to her and would not have acted as rashly. Perhaps William might have gotten that promotion and continued to mentor Elizabeth, helping her climb the ladder, the corporate ladder, that is. It just goes to show you that escalating and staying up your ladders of inference serves no one in the end. But learning how to de-escalate your own ladders and those of others can be a critical skill in the service industry.